Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Dignitas and Absolute Legends. It's, as always, a best-of-3 series here. I'm going to be joined with my co-caster, Vikramond, and we're going to be jumping on into this cast here. It should be a pretty interesting game. Now, these two teams, we've got Dignitas currently actually running in 8th out of the 10 teams, and Absolute Legends down in 10, but the winds of change can be blowing, and they still have a mathematical opportunity to actually qualify for the playoffs if they do increase their performance dramatically here. So we'll see exactly what these two teams have in store for us. But without further ado, on into the draft. How's it going, Vikramond?
Hey, it's going really well. I'm pretty excited about this game because you actually mentioned that Dignitas are still in the running at the playoffs. I think mathematically both teams still have a shot. The problem for AL, of course, is that they have to win every game from here on in, and most of the teams at the top have to lose every game from here on in. Yeah. But they're not actually eliminated from playoff contention, I think, unless they lose this particular game.
I believe, yeah, this is kind of a deciding factor for if Absolute Legend wants to stay on, and again, I'll have to run the numbers on it, but in all technicality, yeah, they absolutely still have a chance in this. They just have to really step it up and obviously change how they're playing. They're still a relatively young roster, so this isn't something that we can just expect outright that, okay, well, they're having a slump, they're having some issues getting things together. We can expect change because that's how things work. When a team grows together, learns their synergies with one another, they're going to be able to improve in a dramatic fashion, and maybe that's something that we have in store for us here with this coming on.
I actually like this gyro, and I think it sort of reflects, it speaks to what you're talking about. AL are a team that, at their best, are very good. They have very good execution, but the problem is we only see flashes of their best sort of in the middle of games. One thing that I've run into again and again while spectating AL games is they almost invariably lose the early game. Like, it's very rare that they come out of the laning stage with an advantage. The way they win is that they have great recovery, and in the mid-game they protect Unicorn XOXO, who's playing as Han Solo this game, and they really just protect him and manage to get him to a point where he's actually dangerous. But they need to shore up their early game, and that's why I actually like this gyro pick. They don't usually run Gyrocopter, but he's a much more robust early game carry than like the Anti-Mage and the Phantom Lancer that we see them use frequently.
Yeah, and in conjunction with that, picking up the Nyx Assassin allows them to really control the lanes very effectively. So even going against something like a Darkseer, you can get mana burns like crazy on him to shut him down to the point that he might not even have enough for a Surge. If that's the case, it's pretty easy to bring him down with a couple of convenient disables, and it's definitely a lot of potential in that regard. Also, just trying to kind of have an offensive mindset. The Nature's Prophet with its global roaming potential, the Nyx with that Vendetta, trying to strike fear into the hearts of the enemy supports, which Team Dignitas still has yet to pick up. There's 2 support fields left up, but they're actually banning out mid-heroes when they already have a Darkseer, Lone Druid, and Beastmaster. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't actually really like the mid-ban, the mid-targeted bans. The Bat Rider, obviously, an excellent ban. And the Lifestealer, perhaps, but I'm not sure. Beastmaster lately has been mostly run as a mid-hero, and he doesn't have that substantial of a disadvantage against anybody that AL's picked up so far. So it feels to me like they're banning out heroes that they could use rather than ones that Dignitas would be likely to pick up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Beastmaster, Lone Druid, Darkseer, these 3 heroes love to find solo experience. We have seen some dual lanes with Lone Druids occasionally where they're supported in the safe lane just to guarantee some really good or early farm, but in general, he has tons of lane presence by himself with his bear alone, and then he also has the option of going on into the jungle. Generally going to see that more commonly with the Darkseer because he's extremely efficient with that Ion Shell once it gets up to rank 3 and 4, so can really just get tons of independent experience through that regard and get a lot of potential of the team fight later on. But yeah, essentially, unless they support the Lone Druid, there's no reason for them to pick up these kinds of heroes like the Clockwork, the Tinker, and the Queen of Pain. There's just no viability in their lineup right now, so it's a little interesting.
It's tough to guess if you're AL because, of course, Dignitas is one of the most innovative drafting teams.
Very true.
For better or for worse, because frequently they'll draft a weird gimmick composition and it could just fall flat on its face. Dignitas is a team that I guess I describe them as mercurial because their performance, even across tournaments or across weeks, is so inconsistent. There was a brief period in like February where I was like, "Oh my God, are they actually the best Western team?" And then they lost like 10 straight. So I was like, "Oh, I'm glad I didn't formally make that prediction." But I think the Beastmaster third, when you can pretty easily pick up a Beastmaster in the second phase, unless you're facing a Lifestealer, signals that they are going to try something weird. But I'll be damned if I know what it is.
Exactly.
Possibly Visage again for Owie.
Possibly, possibly. I really do like the adjective there, mercurial. It just really fits what they're trying to accomplish here. With that Beastmaster pickup, they shut down certain picks from absolute legends. They have this range of initiation, but yeah, since you said they don't really feel they need to prioritize top tier heroes in any sense. They don't need. They're like, okay, well, we can pick up a Beastmaster third. We're gonna pick up a Shadow Shaman fourth. We have tons of disable, and we're just gonna make it work for us. In this sense, I think they're gonna go kind of into a vacuum wall of replica underneath Serpent Wards type thing, single target disables from the Shadow Shaman Beastmaster, and then just dish out a ton of damage on top of that. It's very oriented type things for ganking and follow-up team fights. Pretty much as soon as each of them hit level 6 or above, they're in pretty good standing to just duke it out as best as any of them, really.
Absolutely, and I like the Shadow Shaman. Shackles is just such an excellent disable. It's so long duration, especially if you have something like a Lone Druid. These are actually a very, very strong pair, because once the person's shackled, the odds of them not getting entangled by the bear are very, very low, and then that's just a chain that almost nobody will live through. Now, what's interesting about their 5th pick, they could go for another support. But the other option is they could put either the Darkseer or the Lone Druid in jungle, which is suboptimal, I'll grant. Put one of them on the solo lane, and then have Beastmaster in the mid and maybe another carry or something. So I'm not sure, and this Alchemist is pretty interesting too, so it looks like either Gyrocopter mid, actually probably Gyrocopter mid.
Yeah, that makes the most sense right there. Kind of combining in a potentially aggressive tri-lane of Nyx, Rubik, and Alchemist can be very, very devastating no matter what you're up against here. So AL could run all of that top and then just have Natured Prophet going on in the safe lane, making sure that he gets some nice dedicated golden experience. That's one issue. The last game, the crazy game that we cast last time around, Bulbul is running a Natured Prophet in the off lane and just got shut down really hardcore. If you're sitting at like level 2 as a Prophet 5 or 6 minutes in, you're not really going to be able to accomplish what that pick is designed to do. So I think if they did play something a little bit more conservative in that regard, but also very aggressive to shut out whatever's going on the top lane, I think that Absolute Legends still has a lot of potential to make some headway in this game 1 right off the bat. But interestingly enough, Team Dignitas, true to their nature of picking up weird stuff, they're running Aoi on the Lone Druid as their hard carry, and from there just continuing to pick up crazy teamfight disabling damage dealers that just have a lot of threat when they're in the right position, the right place at the right time, and can exploit the enemy trying to kind of run around chaotically and control them in that way. Just a little bit of a hurting.
I like the puck. It does mean that the Beastmaster is going to be on the dire side hard lane, which is something we used to see as the only lane for Beastmaster. We haven't seen it nearly as often. There's definitely going to be a fight over a control of the Ancient Spawn. But Puck is good. It's a hero that's very strong mid. It's a hero that's good against Alchemist because you can jump onto the Alchemist and silence him as his duration for his stun is ticking away, guaranteeing that he actually stuns and damages himself. So that's a very strong option. Actually, what is going on?
Fog just picking up the Beastmaster, so it should be in the mid there, but they're actually sending Way Too Sexy as a supportive Puck alongside the Shadow Shaman right here.
Well, they're also sending Aoi's body to bottom with the bear going top.
To pull the creep so that they can just go for like a level 1 push or something. I don't even know. Like, I'm just theory crafting because this is
usually do it the other way around. You send the bear to the...
No, I'm not talking pulling creeps back. I'm like saying pull them completely away from the lane so that the Shadow Shaman and Puck just have a free tower to right-click on. I don't really think that's viable, but...
Famous level 1 pushers, Shadow Shaman and Puck.
You know it. No, I mean, there's no reason for the bear to be here. I guess he's just roaming around, making sure that there's no smoke ganks, or, well, it wouldn't help against smoke, but in general, just that kind of running to gank up in the jungle type thing. Just being very active with that Spirit Bear to make sure that the team isn't going like 5-man Dota up top for the first blood. So.
Now, it is the Panda Spirit Bear, which we established yesterday has at least 15% higher entangle chance. So that's definitely something AL are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's big numbers to work with here. So big entangles, pay to win, Panda Bear. Let's see how it fares. Down on the bottom lane here is going to go 1 versus 3, interestingly enough. So Nature's Prophet, his current situation, seems he's just going to relegate himself to the jungle. Mania does play Nature's Prophet and junglers in general pretty frequently, but in the fact that they're seeding the top lane, it really seems like they just don't feel they can contest this Shadow Shaman and Puck combo, which isn't the strongest of dual lanes, but I don't know. I guess they're just kind of...
Rubik and Viz mid, by the way. He might... No, I guess he doesn't want to go for it.
I mean, he has a telekinesis, but Beastmaster has pretty good armor, pretty good HP, even with with only 3 branches, I don't think it could be very fruitful. So instead, maybe trying to disrupt Universe a little bit here and there. Actually getting a ward off, nice action for him to shut down the Darkseer long term. The easy camp is what will farm plenty for now, but he'll always be trying to stack up that hard camp
for sure
to get some big opportunities later. So we do see that flank. We'll get some damage off right here with a no,
I guess
not even a right click.
It.
Wow.
Huh.
I mean,
he probably just didn't want to waste the mana. I guess I don't know.
I guess so. There were a lot of creeps building up, but even so, Fog is having a perfectly fine time in the mid lane here. Like you said, Ancients might be something they want to consider in the near future, either for Gyrocopter or the Beastmaster. But in general, this is going to get pretty interesting. I think Absolute Legends is really used to running this 3.5 1-0 setup where they don't run anything in the top lane and run something in the jungle, but I don't feel it's necessitated. It's not forced in this circumstance here. Universe is not going to be ganking anytime soon as a Darkseer, and although there are some good disables on the Shadow Shaman, it really doesn't add up to all that much, even if you sent a simple Nature's Prophet up there. So in that circumstance, I think that they're kind of just doing it to do it, rather than doing it in what it's generally in response to, which is an overpowering lane like a Keeper Light Shadow Demon or something like that.
Right, I mean, certainly the Nature's Prophet would have no trouble actually living in that lane. I mean, I think they're trying to play as safe as possible, but Nature's Prophet is a hero that you can always get the support in the tri-lane just by teleporting him over. So I agree, Blaze, I'm not totally sure about that. I think maybe they just mispredicted the lanes, which, I mean, so did we, so who can blame that? I mean, this 2-1 in the jungle, Beastmaster mid, Lone Druid solo hard. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. It's definitely the most XP advantageous over the group that they could get. So Shadow Shaman, a hero that if you want to do pushing, and they obviously do since they have Bear, they'll have Beastmaster Aura. By the way, he leveled Aura. He leveled Inner Beast rather than Call of the Wild, which I think points more towards a pushing lineup with those Shadow Shaman wards, the Bear, and just pushing through as much as they can. Yeah. So you'll get the faster 6 on
Smoke Gang coming on in. This is a big opportunity for them with Telekinesis. Gonna go with the Impale to follow this up. Fog's in a bad spot with Mania, and Unicorn doing so much right here. And thinks that is going to be the first blood, so really, really nice for them. That's not Unicorn, by the way. That's wow, I'm blanking on who that is, honestly.
Rise?
Rise, yeah, okay,
Rise
yeah,
in the middle,
Rise.
But it's Unicorn on Alchemist, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Rise is mid there. All right, he doesn't usually run in that position, but in this case, they made it work. Obviously, with that first blood, 4 versus 1. That's how you get a good start here, is committing a lot of potential. Obviously, like you talked about, the experience spread is going to be much better across Dignitas' lineup, but First Blood is still a very, very key objective that they were able to put under their belt.
And if it had been Puck, it would have been substantially harder than it being Beastmaster. I actually don't love... I would have loved to see Fogged Puck, just because he's done such big plays with it before, but Way 2 Puck is also great.
Absolutely. Now we do see, as far as experience goes, that Gyrocopter is about 80 experience per minute over the Beastmaster. That's a really, really good exchange for him. Along with that, since you mentioned the Fog going for that Inner Beast aura and kind of going for more of a push-oriented build, he doesn't have that much rune control. The Boar providing so much potential in making sure that he can lock things down, and instead we're seeing the potential for Rise to roam on around, possibly bottle something up now that he has the Boots of Speed and Route.
They are developing out the Shadow Shaman and Puck pretty well. So Shadow Shaman almost level 4, compare that to level 2 Nyx Assassin and level 2 Rubik. So I think this is really what Dignitas want. They want enough of a level advantage early that eventually this is going to devolve into a gimmick push, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Because once they have like a 2 or 3 level advantage on AL, they'll clump up as 5 and just push every lane. Yeah,
that's the intention there, and I don't see anything to really stop them. Like I said, as soon as they hit level 6, almost all these heroes are near at their peak, and I think that's the general intention. Darkseer can use a few more here and there, same with the Lone Druid, but in general, that first Roar, the first Serpent Wards, that can be such a defining point in a game in general when they're the only one that provides that. But when you have 3 or 4 heroes providing that huge amount of a swing in the middle of one single fight, one single push, it's gonna almost be too much for Absolute Legends to handle, especially with supports that are only just now hitting level 3.
Yeah. Now my concern is Aoi isn't really getting very good development, so he's only level 3. Compared to like the Alchemist, who's actually already hit his 6, so he's got Chemical Rage. This will be, I mean, Aoi will not really be able to approach the lane once Nyx Assassin and Rubik rotate over, and his Bear isn't really doing the Bulldog, like, let's capture the creep waves thing. It's just blocking camps, which is good, but it's not stacking Ancients, it's not getting that much XP over to Aoi, and so, I don't know, I mean, they definitely need him for the push. They need him to hit 6, so he has that buff for both himself and the Bear.
Yeah, the battle cry is really nice too, and the level 7 getting the demolish passive is even better for deconstructing those towers. But we do see Unstable Concoction. He gets fogged out for the moment, and yeah, they don't have vision for it. Do have a quick disconnect from Miggle, but they seem to be going deep. The Unstable Concoction does latch down, but without any Entangled Claws, they need Puck with this Dream Coil. The Impale going through onto Aoyan because of this Rubik's inactivity here. I think even Miggle took a couple tower hits in that circumstance.
It's very, very badly timed disconnect. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade in the middle as well, by the way. It looks like Universe will probably kill Rise. He needs 1 melee, and then Rise killed Fogged.
Absolutely.
That Rubik disconnect, though, I mean, it's always unfortunate to have a disconnect potentially decide a fight.
Mid lane, actually, I didn't realize, but there was not even a vacuum. Just Rise is in a terrible position here. He has regeneration range.
Well, he killed Fogged.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what
it's a 1-for-1. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got the call down and got enough damage with that flag cannon. It's a lot of long range harassment potential. And even though the roar came out, it was just too little, too late. And I think that most likely the second charge of the call down would have been what was required to get the kill, but even so, finishing that off, he got roared underneath tower, and that's what puts him in this predicament to go for a 1-for-1 exchange, which honestly I think they can take that kind of exchange. They don't like the Beastmaster ulti to be on cooldown, but it's only 75 seconds here. Darkseer is gonna get a lot of experience out of a kill on a level 7 gyrocopter, insanely so. So he's going to be in a good position to kind of follow through and support his team as a whole. So in the bigger picture, although you don't want to be feeding a gyrocopter in general, I think they're happy to get Darkseer those kinds of levels in exchange. As long as the bottom lane situation turns out favorably for them, I think the Dignitas are going to be able to swing this very nicely.
Right, and I think this is a big opportunity for Aoi as well, because if they get both of these kills, they'll at least get Alchemist, I think. Aoi could be in a little bit of trouble for the next assassin. No, he doesn't have the mana for Mana Burn or anything. So this is most likely at least a kill on Alchemist, and then a possibly upsell on Nyx Assassin, although I think he'll just walk away. But still, that'll give Aoi, I mean, it's a 3 getting a kill on a 6, so again, they want XP, they want to actually be able to push, which means Lone Druid has to be 6 or 7 pretty soon.
Absolutely. Now, as far as participation potential here, Rubik is connected back on, and same with Beastmaster, but he's so far out, he is sitting at 280 HP, they don't even have creeps onto the tower anymore, so in this situation, Rubik is out of the fight, and from here, Dream Coiled up, I definitely think the Unicorn is going to get locked down as well, and the question is whether or not they can also clean up the Nyx Assassin, which, with their current situation of only having 2, doesn't seem that beneficial unless they can get enough experience for the Entangling Claws up on Aoi, but I don't
First to entangle. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
But he's so far behind in experience, it just doesn't seem viable. We do see Mania trying to help out, but there's the transition from Tides of Time to help this out easily. Ether Shock to make sure that kill is net, and Lone Druid only 4.5.
Nice.
So nice blocks though, nice action, nice right clicks, just really, really making sure that he will not be able to escape on out of that, and that allows him to clean up and go for what is effectively a 3-for-1 trade. A little bit of action on mid, a little bit of action on bottom. And in the end,
finally stacking Ancients.
Yeah.
So that's definitely good, because that Beastmaster will be able to get a bunch of additional levels by cleaning that up with Wild Axes eventually. Beastmaster and Lone Druid. They'll probably Lone Druid will probably sit around soaking the XP and getting last hits, and Beastmaster will do the AoE damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he can move in towards a rank 4 call Inner Beast, that's going to provide 40 bonus attack speed to the bear, which relies on that stat more than pretty much anything else. It just benefits it so much for the RNG of the Entangling Claws, for the damage it can put into towers, etc. We do see Way 2 going in for a flank to gank up on Mania, but he does have that teleport, and they don't have the silence in range just yet, so a little too late. And he's going to get out scot-free for the moment, but just setting himself back, going all the way, just pretty much going to top lane, dropping some treants, and then teleporting back. I mean, there's not really anything that you're accomplishing in that scenario.
Right. We do have treads coming out on the Alchemist, so this signals that they are going for the sort of classic hard carry Alchemist and not the sort of modern, like, ganker, face boots, Shadow Blade. They could still go Shadow Blade. It's been almost core on him lately just in pro games, but it looks like they're just going to go to develop him out really, really heavily and get a ton of items up, max out, and try to win right there. Now this is interesting sort of congruencies with Dignitas's game plan, which is that if this Alchemist doesn't start racking up those items, especially if he goes for, I don't think he'll do this, but if he does go for something like a Radiance or something really late game, it could actually be a huge problem when that early push comes through.
Wow, that's a fast blink. Way 2 in a dual lane, pretty much playing the carry role in the sense that he's sitting at 42 CS. He's been setting up kills left and right, so 1-0 and 1. he has that Blink Dagger with only boots on him, but he's been managing his mana so effectively that I think that's not going to be to his detriment. I think he still has a lot of potential to initiate on in, and when a Puck has a Blink Dagger this early on, he can just go for crazy initiation. Dream Coils, he's actually maxing Waning Rift just to make sure that he can get the maximum duration silence and damage output from that, and I think now with that early of a Blink, it's going to be a great effect for them. Wrath of Nature does come out to counter push a bit up top, but it just isn't sufficient.
Oh, no way. Yeah, this is a dead tower. Did you notice that they're stacking both ancient camps?
Yeah,
Dignitas?
that is interesting. They feel really comfortable with their map control here. They're like, okay, well, the enemy doesn't really have too much potential with this Alchemist until a lot later in the game, especially without anything in Acid Spray. Maxing out Greevil's Greed kind of shows how Unicorn likes to run that carry, but like you said, that's the issue, is that they're not really focusing on their early game here. So the more Greevil's Greed you rank up, the less you're really contributing to the team fights early, and a Shadow Blade will help, but it won't stop the forthcoming push that is allowing them to have so much map control. Roar on mid, Universe going to be able to clean this up nicely with huge damage through Vacuum and Ion Chill. Miggle does come in, but without any spell steal, he's only going to be able to pick up the kill on Universe through a couple tower hits. Oh, Urn might finish him. Yeah, Bottle and Urn. Universe going to be perfectly fine here. Good restoration, and even the rank 2 Telekinesis, rank 3 Fade Bolt, not enough to lock him down, so just another quick, easy dive for them on the mid lane.
Great escape from Universe, honestly. He needed it was a combo effort, because the Urn and the Bottle together, either one of them alone would not have been enough to live against the tower hit, but both of them together meant that he lived actually pretty comfortably. So I actually like the hardcore carry Puck approach, and I'm glad they finally rotated Aoi over, because he really wasn't getting his XP in that lane, and Alchemist was getting to the point at which he could almost just solo bully him out. So they have rotated him to the jungle. He's going to build, God, I don't know, probably
Vlad's and Tranquils most likely.
Yeah, that'd be my guess as well, because it'll help the push. He's obviously not really a hard #1 lone druid in this game, because they're running #1 Puck.
Yeah, obviously.
Which, you know, the early blink is great, because they are going to be getting into engagements. They are going to be trying to seek to push towers down, and in those situations,
baited out by the ancient stack. Oh, so sad for him. Waning Rift, the axes almost fly, but just the orb of the Dream Coil to make sure that he's going to get locked down here. Wow, they actually just set a trap. They pretty much just played Mousetrap here. They're like, oh, Unicorn's like, oh, or sorry, I keep on messing that up. Rise is like, hey, my buddy stacked up my ancients for me. They're such great supports. Little did he know.
He's in he's in Skype saying like, "Oh, who stacked the ancients? Thank you for doing that." And they're like, we didn't stack the ancients." The stack was coming from inside the house.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. That is perfect. But anyways, yeah, Alchemist gonna pick up a Shadow Blade very shortly, be able to get some gank potential out, but the Unstable Concoction, not ranked as aggressively, transitioning now into Acid Spray, means the kind of surprise aspect of it won't be similar to Beastmaster. Beastmaster has a guaranteed stun of 3 seconds, a lot of damage up front, and Unstable Concoction gets pretty high pretty quickly as well, but sitting at 2.5 and 220, it's not as immediate, it has its drawbacks, and there's just a lot of factors that come into play there. So until he ranks it up a bit more, Beastmaster's still going to have the edge in that regard, and he's also helping out a ton with push, with other forms of disable, and as we've mentioned multiple times over, that very powerful aura.
Definitely. Now, Nick, I like that Nyx Assassin is sort of defending this area here. Miracle's actually having a pretty good game on Nyx Assassin. Even though he has 1 death, he's been in the right place at the right time multiple times, and in that place in particular, Beastmaster was coming up, Fog was coming up the stairs to try to land a Roar, which would have been another kill, but Miracle timed an almost perfect impale down the stairs onto Fog, which really protect them. And it's really small plays like that. Miracle and Mania, who's on, I think, Nature's Prophet in this game, are really like the beating heart of AL, in my opinion, because they're the 2 players with the most experience. They've both been to the International. Mania obviously placed 4th 2 years ago, and then Miracle was on Counter Logic Gaming last year. And so I really feel like they play the most safe, and it's their job to sort of shepherd the rest of the team into making sure that they do manage to get through the early game intact.
Oh, he doesn't even get the Vendetta. Like, he's been waiting this entire time, and then he doesn't. It was 1 second later, the Vendetta wore off.
Yeah,
he was pretty much waiting last second for the Rubik to come on in, but no.
That's so unfortunate.
Not that they could have just beaten through this wall of flesh. I mean, Aoi is so darn tanky. Even just sitting at level 8, a simple battle cry would put his armor through the roof. His HP is already substantial. And it's just not going to work out. Our Universe doing some Ion Shell action against the Nature's Prophet, pretty much just directly counteracting his push presence here in the lane.
Interesting that Rise has chosen not to go homing missile at all. Do you think that's because he just feels like it's not that useful against anybody, but I don't know. What do you think about this no homing missile?
The longer the fight goes on, the less effective Absolute Legends is going to be. They want quick burst of damage, maybe an unstable concoction to set things up, or, you know, screw yourself over a couple times. But anyways, they want things to happen rather briefly. Call down, a quick burst from Nyx, a little bit of damage from Rubik, the Wrath of Nature to go across. All these things have to happen within the first 5 or 6 seconds of the fight. The homing missile is great, but it takes so darn long to take any effect at all, and I don't think they're going to be in a great chasing position at any stage in this game. Yeah, they do pick him off. Nice transition in. Miracle and Miggle finally finding some action, but, you know, putting a third kill on the board, and now they're pinned in.
There's going to be a call.
Starting off, they do get the Dream Coil onto Miggle, and they're going to be able to bring him down no problem with the bear available. Fog looking for some action on Miracle, but just throwing some axes uphill to make sure they can finish off that Rubik.
Almost Wodo to axes, although they were completely unnecessary. He was just showboating a little bit. One thing I feel bad about is Unicorn actually almost got a solo gank on Way 2, which would have been pretty significant actually, because it would be a bunch of XP for Unicorn, some gold, and really delay Way 2's development. But at the exact wrong moment, even though Unicorn was Shadow Bladed, Way 2 blinked all the way back. I don't know if it was like a preternatural reaction or whatever, because he had no detection, but he totally avoided the stun.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I've seen multiple times over that Unicorn has just been desperate to try to get one of those big ganks off, just jump on in with the Shadow Blade, with the Unstable Concoction. I think I've seen it failed 3 times in these 14 minutes, and that's just like multiple times over. Ever since he got the Shadow Blade, all he's been wanting to do other than get some good right clicks off, and his farm is substantial with 94 CS. Other than that, he's just been trying to get the Shadow Blade stun off, but it's got a limited time frame, and you know, once that brew starts to flow, and then you pretty much have to pop it off, or unfortunately take the stun, take some damage from the creeps, and waste a lot of time.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's the right attitude, right? Because if you have a Shadow Blade, I mean, all day long you're dreaming about ganks, I feel like. But I think it's the treads rather than the phase. I mean, the extra movement speed, if you pop the phase and then the Shadow Blade, that's much faster that you're actually able to chase people down and land off that stun. I
believe that doesn't work. The phase boost cancels on item and spell usage,
you're right. But it's still at base faster movement.
Yeah, base increase. You're right in that regard, and I think I see it more commonly just because he has so much attack speed outright. Like, he has such fast attack speed that damage is that much more relevant. But it's just, one way or another, it's not working out for them here. They do see Fog popping off that roar. He does have double damage for a bit more, but the tower has fallen so very quickly to the bear. Vacuum in, they have the Dream Coil. The call down does come down, but it's not enough to just stop them from their gradual, very slow approach towards the opposition. So it looks like Puck wants a little bit more action, but with only rank 1 phase shift, he can't play as aggressively as he'd like to, even with the Blink Dagger. And from there, they just take the tower and walk away.
Yeah, but they're happy, even if with no kills and popping some ultimates. The thing about Dignitas' ultimates is, aside from the Shadow Shaman, and even his ultimate isn't that long, their cooldowns just aren't that long. We're not talking about Enigma or Tidehunter here. They can do this every time Shadow Shaman wards are up, which is about every 110 seconds. So every time those are up, they're going to be pushing a tower. And just from that fight, it doesn't appear like AL are really in a position to contest these pushes yet. Now, maybe by the time Dignitas reach the tier 3s, they will be, but for now, they're definitely not.
Yeah, absolutely. Maelstrom coming out for Unicorn. He's going to be able to increase his DPS substantially. I think one of his bigger issues, though, is if he gets disabled by anything. If he gets Dream Coiled, if he gets roared, any one of these things can really negate a lot of his presence in the fight. I mean, he does throw down a rank 1 Acid Spray, not really much presence in that regard. The only other thing he's got going is that Concoction, which, as we've said, hasn't been as effective as it's needed to be. Now, his farm rate is going to increase substantially with that ultimate active. Just can burn down things very quickly. We're seeing him in the jungle right now, just farming away, 115 CS. Pretty solid for his Grievous Greed to take effect there, but beyond that, he's still going to have to get a huge gold advantage if he wants to stay in this. We see the experience in favor of Dignitas 3k, and still, even with his gold gain of Grievous Greed, we see 1k gold advantage for Dignitas as well. However, Absolute Legends did just pick up that tower. I don't feel that's something that should have happened. But anyway, Surge on the invisible Beastmaster should be able to close in. Gets the axes, the roar will come out. Yes, they get it. The Hexa simultaneously, they just needed it as soon as possible. And that's going to be enough. Mania does get dropped out. They find their opportunity, get a little bit of vision, and to make sure that he's not going to be slipping out to the fountain there. So that is perfect for them. But just comparing the items on our...
Oh wow, mid, way too.
Yeah, that is an interesting spot to be in. Miracle in a terrible spot. Center Ward does come out. All they need is some good... Oh, Earn. Perfect. Done. And there's nothing he can do. He's going to just drain over time. They pick up their experience in just a moment. And that's about it.
They're kill stealing like mad here. He was at like 2 HP from the urn and it was still ticking, and Puck's just like, I'll toss out an orb, I'll take that kill. Alchemist on
Dude, it's the
Owie
carry
Puck.
way too sexy. It's the carry Puck. He's got to be
true.
prioritizing the farm.
It's not a kill steal if it's carry Puck. That's a good point.
Now we do see a mechanism picked up by Universe, kind of counteracting the one picked up by Mania. Like I said, the longer the fight goes on, Dignitas seems to have an overwhelming advantage in my mindset. Puck can get multiple cooldowns off. The Lone Druid just dishes out a ton of right-click damage with the help of that Beastmaster. And I really think that over time, Dignitas have that huge advantage. So the mechanism on both ends will increase the fight duration, but that's not necessarily a good thing for them. We do see Concoction up on top. Owie probably going to fall here. Just a lot of damage coming out, and yeah, he's going to be finished off by Rubik here to get a little bit of very, very necessary gold. I'm curious if he's going to go for the Arcane Boots here, presumably, but yeah, he does, to set himself up to keep that gank pressure rolling. But speaking of, Fog walking right on in with a Necro 1 active, a couple Urn Charges available, trying to get some vision on Miggle to burn him down quickly. TP comes out, but the Roar with the Hawk Vision is not going to allow that to happen, and yeah, they're going to finish him off no problem. Well, Unicorn finds some nice jungle creeps to farm.
Right, yeah, and this is definitely, we were right that it's more of a gimmick push comp because they are building Necro on, I think, multiple heroes. Puck looks like he's starting a Necro.
Hex on Mania. They've got the Dream Call active already, but Miracle comes on in with a nice combo of stuns, and they might be able to finish off Tides. No, nice vacuum coming on back. Unicorn, however, cleans it up, going for Puck. Big right clicks. He will be able to get a second kill on out of this. Now, just walking away from this position here, Fog back on in, but without a Roar available. Needs to just get the Urn off on Han Solo or keep it running. So Unicorn in a pretty bad spot considering the surge. He does get the Shadow Blade. What kind of detection are we looking at? In this case, absolutely nothing. So for the moment, he is completely safe, but he is kind of really, really behind enemy lines. Going to TP on out of there to keep himself active, and assuming Rise just walks away from this position here, they're going to be able to really just directly profit from that exchange.
I think Owie doesn't feel too bad about dying because he's building cost-efficient items. He's making that armlet, big flavor of the month item on Lone Druid, that armlet, and it is going to come up. Oh, it's actually done right now. He had to pass off the helm to the bear. But now it's on there. So he does have that armlet that gives him cheap, cost-effective effectiveness. I would love to see a gem on Fog, though, honestly. They've dumped so much money into Sentries already. Why not just get the gem? It's so good on Beastmaster.
Because you can just buy a Necro 3, man.
That's actually true, you're right. And he is up to Necro 2.
Yeah.
So, the big thing about Necro 3 is the what's it called? The bird doesn't get True Sight.
True. That's kind of a limiting factor, and you don't just get to use it for blindly dewarding. But we see right now that Absolute Legends doesn't really have the cash flow for that. Rubik picked up his Arcanes, has been banking up his 540 since then, and Nyx Assassin has a few on him, but he's always uncertain about where they need to be because Dignitas is such a dynamic lineup. Where do you ward if you can't predict where the enemy is going to be striking next? That's a really, really difficult dilemma for them to have to deal with here. And with the Roche, it just kind of shows that lack of understanding of what Dignitas has as their next move, because they have pretty much the entire map open to them. The Roar almost came out. They get everything off, and they do get the Roar. So Universe has that gem, as you were talking about, and that's going to be a quick, easy pickup for the carry Puck.
Carry Puck doing things. Owie's in a bit of trouble top. It does look like they'll finally get this tower. They had to commit so heavily, though, and there's a lot of TPs coming in.
Yeah, coming on in. They don't have the Roar, but they do have a lot of damage output in general. The Boar slow. Gonna bring down the Boar with the call down, though, so I don't think Gyrocopter will be locked in unless Way Too Sexy comes in with a big Dream Coil going across. Mechanism keeping the Gyrocopter active for the moment, but the follow-up comes on through, and they're all gonna drop down, just falling by the wayside. More right clicks, more urns, and that's gonna be it.
Actually, good TPs out from Nyx and Gyro. I really didn't think Gyro... Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, almost got out there. He's very, very swift with the drum in the face, but no, just no.
Nature's Prophet did manage to barely escape. Nyx managed to barely escape, but Gyro, Rubik, not so lucky. And so they get the tower, but it took so long. I mean, they were counter pushing that tower when Roche started, and Dignitas managed to kill Roche, rotate Owie over, annoy them for long enough for like the rest of the team to come over, and then kill two of them.
Yep, most definitely. We do see Mania finding his opportunity to farm a little bit here. Scythe of Vice could really, really change how the team fights are flowing, but the problem is how far away that truly is. They don't really have anything to make sure that Mania is going to find that secure farm other than his Midas, which it's going to take some time. I think in maybe like 26 or so minutes he might be a lot closer to it, but for the moment he is just kind of trying to find creeps wherever they may actually like strike out on the lane.
You mean like at 26 minutes?
Yeah, around that time
Okay.
period, if he's consistent about
Well,
it.
you
yeah.
said in 26 minutes, and I was like,
shit,
yes,
no.
I certainly hope that by the 48-minute mark, Prophet can
Yeah.
finish aside the fights.
That would be really nice for him. But no, I mean he's finding farm in the jungle. He has a decent substantial GPM. We add that up 400. You add in, like I said, 4 minutes from now, 1,600 extra gold. You're gonna be pretty close to that Mystic Staff, and then that's pretty much it's all downhill from there. Finishing up with the final thing. Oh my gosh, just right in his face. He sees a panda. He's like, no.
Trucking out of here, and it's really higher than 405 because of course that's averaged out over the length of the game, I think. So his steady state DPS, sorry, not DPS, gold per minute is a little bit higher than that. So a couple Midas activations away, and he'll be well on the way to that sheep. Honestly, I think he's in pretty good shape. The problem for them right now is this is a pure damage alchemist. I mean, he doesn't really have much in the way of survivability. He's got a good HP pool, but you can see, like, even against these ancients, he's taking a lot of damage. What happens if he gets roared? He can't Shadow Blade out of it. It's going to be really, really problematic, and he will be the roar target in these big fights.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I mean, Gyrocopter generally would be, but comparing the farm, absolutely. There's just too much DPS potential on the Alchemist, and a BKB will be coming out, but it's not going to help him out too much. Miracle in a bad spot does have a lot of potential to get on out of there with the Carapace, and I think that might be exactly what happens here. They're going to pursue, but it's just a pretty long attempt to get on out of there. With the Drum Charge active, Miracle just has too much movement speed. However, Rubik did get picked off in the end. And I do want to point out that I believe they do have 2 drums, one on the Gyrocopter, one on Miracle. And although that's just like, you know, whatever, there's plenty of stats involved, when you're down to this little gold, when you have this little gold to work with, you really have to make every penny count.
Definitely. And so Dignitas have put pressure on AL right at the point where I think they know AL has difficulty dealing with pressure. Because once they have a carry who's sort of already got like 2 or 3 big items, and in this case Alchemist kind of has that, but he's really not tremendously effective until he adds like 1 more item onto that stack, like a BKB or something. Which is that what he's making? Yeah, he is making that BKB. And so, I mean, Gyro also, all he has is a Helm of the Dom, like nothing other than that, just the drums, which as you mentioned are redundant, and the Akala, which is good, but I mean it's nothing huge. So AL don't really feel comfortable taking these fights until they have a little bit more farm on these heroes, and consequently they're just getting, you know, dominated all over the map. They can't really do these counter pushes.
Exactly. You can't split push when you don't have any map control. In this position, it's hard to have map control when, as a team, you're very weak. Individually, they have a couple of great setups. Alchemist with a lot of farm, 615 GPM, that is passive, doing work, and along with that, the Natured Prophet finding his opportunity to move towards his quota there. But in this position, it's just having so much farm density on 2 heroes, and then almost absolutely nothing on the others. It's a really bad position for them. Miracle in a bad spot here does get the Carapace off, and that is going to actually disrupt the Shackles based on the Serpent Ward's auto attack. So really, really good timing there with the Impale. He's actually playing Houdini. He's multiple times over. This is like the 3rd time that he's been able to escape out of a very desperate situation because that Carapace is just so darn strong.
Yeah, great escape. Shackles does do damage, so even Shackles by itself will trigger
eventually.
Carapace.
Yeah. I think it takes about a second or something.
Alchemist is done with his BKB, so that's pretty big. And Gyrocopter has 3,000 gold. I don't know if he's saving for a BKB as well. It would be a good choice. Puck, Shadow Shaman, Darkseer, these are all guys that are going to do damage to you with magic. Beastmaster, it's not that useful against him. And, I mean, Lone Druid, it's almost useless against him, but they could definitely go for the double BKB. If I were AL, I would be looking to maybe get some more damage on the Gyrocopter, get the Alchemist nice and tanky, and just start doing man fights after that. Yeah. Because they really have to get to a position where they're comfortable fighting, or they're just going to lose.
Yeah. Now looking at top lane, Miracle looking for the mana burn to start things off. Needs to go for that Impale, but the blink timing is... Oh no, he's actually going to get locked down. Uses the Yules to delay the inevitable, but he doesn't have enough mana for... Now he has enough mana for the blink. He can blink out right this very second, but he didn't.
They're going to lose Unicorn bottom, definitely.
Why didn't he blink out?
I don't know.
It wasn't on cooldown. He was in phase shift. You can immediately cancel that channel to blink anywhere your heart's desire may be. He didn't have mana at first during the Yules, but just buying a little bit of extra time with that phase shift, he was able to accomplish it and just did not. So a bit of a misplay. And
probably just a misplay. Maybe he was distracted by something. I'm not sure. I mean, they did get it's a trait of an Alchemist for a Puck, and so while this is carry Puck, So this is a one for number one for number one trade. I think you feel a little better about losing a carry puck than a team does about losing their alchemist.
As much as we've been kind of just playing around with that moniker a little bit, we do see the Lone Druid's GPM is actually now outpacing the puck, especially with all these towers they've been able to bring down. Armlet up on the Bear, 4,800 gold available for Aoi. Pretty much can go for whatever he wants, but the question is, what exactly is he going to be going for here? I guess more disables. I mean, they have tons with the Beast, tons with the Shadow Shaman, but if they follow that up with maybe a Basher or something, just to make sure that even during the BKB they don't have to worry about things, I think they could be in a pretty good spot. Bear is going to get locked down.
Oh, poor Bear. That was actually a pretty good play from AL, I have to say. They make Aoi resummon his Bear. They defend this tower. This tier 3 tower has barely any damage on it, and they actually did extremely respectable damage with the Nature's Prophet top. This tower is actually halfway down.
Yeah. So that is definitely something to take away from that. Some a little bit of permanent damage, a little bit of opportunity to maneuver on around, and now we do see around the 28 minutes that he does have enough for that Mystic Staff. Now going to be looking for that Scythe of Ice rather frequently. As quickly as he can. And once that comes on out, they have a lot more potential because there's no BKB carriers or BKB carriers on Dignitas whatsoever.
Now, Nyx Assassin actually is saving up a bit of cash. What do you think he's going to build with this 1220?
Blink Dagger would be my guess, based on the fact that there's Necronomicons out across the board constantly. Vendetta is not a safe initiation tool, so
that's true.
Miracle, knowing this, will be looking for a Blink, but it's a heavy investment to work towards.
That's a great point. Meanwhile, Dignitas, I think, are rounding out their sort of push-a-push. They did go Radiance on Lone Druid after all, so we've been seeing some late Radiances this week, Blaze. But and they do have the Boots of Travel on Beastmaster, which is the other thing I wanted to note. So that's going to be a really annoying thing to deal with if you're AL.
Absolutely. And we do see Shiva's up on the Darkseer, a gem, pretty much going gem for gem. The Shadow Shaman picking one up as well. Or sorry, not the Shadow Shaman, and it's a support, it's Rubik. Miguel is going to pick up a gem of his own, so both of them having that available. The wards are pretty much not going to be a consistent thing by nature. Pretty much any time the enemy walks over. The kind of the yin-yang of this is that they really want to be able to put wards in relevant locations that give them good vision of the enemy, but if the enemy is in that position, they're going to see the ward and immediately negate its presence. So it really is just whether or not the investment is worth it to just get a one-time just really quick catch of where their positioning is.
So I feel that AL are doing a good job of playing from behind, but the problem is every time we see them, they're always having to play from behind. So it's like, okay, if you play perfectly from this point on, you'll win, but even getting into this position is kind of unfortunate. Because, I mean, if you know Rise, he's getting pretty big on this Gyrocopter. He's got the full BKB, he has enough for a Demon Edge, so if he wants to build towards his MKB or something. And then, of course, Unicorn doing pretty well. He's building out a bunch of items. He actually has a Belt of Strength, which I'm not sure what that's going to be built towards. But
yeah, I mean, it's like a Sange and yeah, I'm thinking of Sange kind of like a halberd type thing. But anyways, we do see Unicorn.
Against the Bear?
I'm not too sure, but anyways, they do put a lot of damage on into him and just going to burn him down really quickly. Yeah. I think it's just a good effective HP item. We were talking about how he needs to get some good durability, and the evasion in conjunction with some of the most efficient health per gold, it really makes it so that he's going to be very beefy, because he already has plenty of armor to work with in general, and so that's going to be exactly what he needs to stay on top of things here. But
the evasion will definitely be good. The actual disarm will be more or less useless, because the Bear isn't even doing that great damage. It's got Armlet, but its main value right now for them is Radiance, so it's good for pushing, and again, Dignitas, this game, really focused on pushing, which makes it surprising they haven't actually pushed more than they have. Yeah.
Now we do see Miguel taking way too much damage here, and he's not going to steal a Surge, so that's pretty much going to seal his fate right there. No trouble at all. And yeah, they're going to do some damage. He actually destroys his gem, but they already have one, so I guess they wouldn't have really carried one way or another.
He's going to destroy that. Pretty boss play from Way2 there, by the way. Phase shifting out the telekinesis drop component.
What do you think about this Vladimir's on Miracle instead of Blink?
Huh. So I actually would have really liked the Blink. Also, you don't know it's a Vladimir's. It could be a Mask of Madness.
He's got Ring and Regen, dude.
Oh, yeah, he does. My bad. I wasn't serious with the Mask of Madness anyway. I do like Vlad's just because it is a great item to have on a team with Alchemist. It gives him even more armor. It gives you know, a damage aura as well as lifesteal. So it's great as, okay, I'm supporting Alchemist, but what it doesn't do is, okay, we're going to take team fights effectively. The Blink gives you that initiation capacity to take team fights on your own terms, which is something, a luxury you can't overestimate how good that is against Puck Beastmaster, and this isn't a Beastmaster who's going like Blink Ags, where, okay, now if he gets Blink Ags, you have no hope of initiating.
Yeah.
He is always going to initiate. But he doesn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Mania's TP Scythe, but the issue is that they don't really have a hero that they can just pick off and be like, okay, you're sheeped, we can instantly kill you. It's not playing against an anti-mage here. You're playing against a Lone Druid and a Darkseer and a Beastmaster and all this really beefy stuff. It's just, it's a little bit too much for them to deal with. We do see the tier 3 dropping in exchange for the Serpent Wars. Now the Roar comes out. Now the team fight breaks on out with that wall replica right on top of Mania, and Han Solo, Unicorn just dishing out the damage, bringing in Tides of Damage with Tides of Time with 2 right clicks, going for Universe now, and with that Vladimir, he's just healing up like crazy, and he is burning them down so fast with that Basher. Now moving in, Aoi versus Miracle here. It looks like Aoi will be able to survive for a little while, but with the Shadow Blade closing the distance, a couple right clicks will change that very, very quickly. Aegis now in the ground, and from there they're going to have another shot at bringing down the Druid, which is actually in his standard form, and with that, that's an easy pick off that swings the kills extremely in the favor of Absolute Legends. You just can't underestimate how powerful Han Solo can get with this much output, and he actually picked up the Basher with that Repelled Strength, so that's really, really powerful for him.
That's what that was. I completely forgot that Built Strength builds into Basher. But definitely the exact correct pickup, because his attack speed is already great, and I mean, in that case, it completely disabled Aoi's TP. And so that's huge, because if he had TP'd out, like if Unicorn had anything except a Basher, Aoi TP's out, keeps the Aegis, and probably the bear lives too. But instead, he doesn't keep the Aegis. It's another kill for Unicorn. And honestly, AL, great defense, because the building damage coming out, another like 5 seconds of dithering, and those Raxes would have been going down. But instead, they completely deflate the push. And if you're Dignitas, that's really, you wanted that push to work, because the fact that it didn't means it's going to be a tough time against this ever-increasing Alchemist and Gyrocopter. So, Gyro went for Satanic, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say that. He has found amazing amounts of farm out of almost nowhere. Rise just finding small opportunities, despite the fact that Dignitas is roaming together as like 3, 4, 5 heroes all the time. One thing I was just talking to No Tail about yesterday in his post-match interview is the fact that if you have a great lineup for spreading things out, if you force the enemy to clump up together to go for big ganks and stuff, as Dignitas is prone to do based on their teamfight type lineup, then you can just spread out. You can pretty much go one lane farm up here, another lane farm up there, have somebody in the jungle constantly, and just pretty much just have little tendrils that soak on into the map, just really get some roots that will have an opportunity to provide farm in all respects. You will lose heroes here and there. That's why we do see Dignitas with this gigantic lead of 21-10 as far as the kills go, but if we look at the gold graph, that doesn't have that much of an impact. The farm is still being found on these carries who scale far greater than the Lone Druid could ever possibly. So as long as they can handle the Wall of Replica, which I believe they can with Gyrocopter and his Flat Cannon, they are definitely still in this game, and of course the racks still being up means that they're not going to be giving up anytime soon.
I think very long term, the Lone Druid will actually be okay against the Alchemist, for a couple of reasons. We do see Aoi, he does have the Belt of Strength. I think he's definitely building a Halberd, because the disarm effect is going to be fantastic against Alchemist. But if he gets something like eventually like a Ghost Scepter, and he builds out the bear as much as he can, if he can't get bashed by the Alchemist, that bear actually can get a chain entangles, and that'll be very useful. Fogged also is finally building his Ags. This is going to be critical, because, I mean, they need to deal with the Alchemist. That last fight, the difference maker was the fact that they couldn't do anything to the Alchemist. He was BKB'd, he was dealing just gobs and gobs of damage. I think he two-shot Tides. Like, it was actually just 2 hits and Tides was dead. So they need to deal with that. They do have the Ghost Scepter for Tides. They're going to probably build out this Axon Beastmaster, and they just need to survive and somehow disable and kill the Alchemist. It's a tall order.
Yeah, very, very difficult indeed. Now we do see, yeah, Aoi has been farming up nicely. Where is his Barret, actually? I'm not seeing it for some reason.
It's
up top, there we go.
It's
okay.
Radiancing. Yeah.
So it is going to be for the Basher, I believe. They have the Javelin, they have the Belt of Strength. Just finishing that up. They will have the Basher on the Bear instead of the Halberd, so 0 for 2 in that scenario. But
yeah, I know, right?
I mean, it's a great item with the right amount of attack speed. Alchemist gets it through a low base attack time, as well as this Mjolnir pickup, and actually most of his items are enhancing his AS. And then from there, the Lone Druid is getting it from the Beastmaster's aura, and the fact that he's already picked up a Hyperstone. So it's very reliable disables here, and we do see the Dream Coil coming out on Miggle and Mania. Big damage going across. It should be enough to burn all of them down here. Even Boots of Travels on the Beastmaster to make sure he shift cues the Necronomicon to add some extra damage, burning down Rise, and that's Satanic, as tanky as you can be. When you're picked off in a 5 versus 3, it's just gonna be a disaster for you guys.
What an amazing gank from Dignitas. I mean, the rotation, the killer instinct with the jump in from the puck and the Dream Coil. From the moment the Dream Coil came on down, it was like, uh-oh.
Sealed the fate. I really did. And I mean, although Prophet does have great disable, this mechanism at this stage in the game isn't providing that much durability. Now we do see Aoi wailing on these racks, forcing the 4-5 very, very early. And with this Roar still available, Alchemist can't do that much to defend it. Throughout harassment, concoction, something like that. But now trying to burst down Fog before he can get the Roar up. The question is whether or not he can accomplish that. And he almost does. He almost does, but it does not come through. Unicorn finishing it off. Now pursuing and looking for more kills. What is he? He's not even. He's farming creeps.
It's Ghost Scepter. He couldn't actually hit Tides.
Okay, I didn't catch that.
He was hitting creeps to proc Mjolnir to percolate over to Tides.
I did not see the debuff there, but that, I mean, just kind of gave me a standard Unicorn mindset. It's like, oh, there's a Shadow Shaman here, but, you know, get them creeps.
Shadow Shaman, there's creeps to be farmed.
Yeah, we could find that. We can get him anytime. It's just pretty much just like, yeah, he'll be dead in a few seconds. I'll just take this short opportunity here. But yeah, no, you're right. Mjolnir procs on Ghost Scepter is amazing. So, I mean, it was really good maneuver in that regard, but it looked hilarious without the knowledge of Ghost Scepter being active.
And that's that fight, by the way, Alchemist buffs, because the Unstable Concoction AoE is what made him win. It hit both Beastmaster and Lone Druid.
Yeah.
I don't know which of them he targeted on. It must have been probably Beastmaster, but the fact that it hit both meant... I mean, it was a just huge stun.
Yeah, it was all about getting that stun off before the Roar came out. If he did, if he could accomplish that, and of course he did, he was able to just completely destroy that fight. He could pretty much, like 1 versus 3, I guess you could say. He can deal with his own illusion from the Wall of Replica. He has the BKB to deal with Shadow Shaman's disables. The puck, it means very little to him as well. So with that BKB still sitting at 8 seconds, he can pretty much go up against any of those 3. It's just the Lone Druid and the Beastmaster. Those 2 having tons of disable potential on him, even with the BKB active, is something that he's a little bit afraid of, but was able to circumvent through that long duration stun and focusing them down. Very, very nicely done.
Now, Unicorn definitely came through in the clutch on that fight, but let's not overstate how good it is. I mean, they did lose Rax, so they almost lost this range.
Goes across, they're going to go and just completely obliterate them out of position entirely. They're going to pop off the BKB. Can he go for a TP? No, bashed up for the moment, and now he's just going to try to throw out that concoction. Gets a stun on Universe, who had the Ghost Scepter already, and now Alchemist can do very, very little. There is a lot of damage coming out from Rise, however. There's so much popping off from Puck, but in the end, he does fall. Nice stun coming out, and Unicorn survives. He has too much HP regen here, and he will just walk away from this. They did get a steal on the Wall of Replica, so a little bit of Rubik illusions along with those that were fighting up against them. Creates another little army. That's... I don't even know how you get 2 Alchemist illusions out of that. I can't even fathom how that happened.
No, it's just an illusion rune.
Okay.
There's a rune.
I thought the Wall of Replica had something to do with it. Anyways, Fog getting picked off on here, that's really bad for them. That kind of positioning, you'd want to be in close enough. The Roar is good range, but Fog has been doing this long-range harassment for a while, a little bit of counter push here and there, but it hasn't added up to where it needs to be, and instead, Absolute Legends are, what are they?
They're going to roll over this base.
Yeah, they're going for pretty much everything.
To top rather than mid. Really smart, because this tower is already almost dead.
Yeah, and so
this
the
is great maximization.
And the tier 2 is up in mid, so that definitely is not an option.
Oh.
Either way, taking 2 racks instead of 1, of course, very, very efficient here, and from there, I don't see much opportunity for Dignitas to bring this out. They really need a fight like they got in the jungle pickoff around this area here. They need something where they can go in and catch somebody off guard. They're great about that, but the problem is their scalability. The net worth on this Alchemist is insane. 27k against Lone Druid 16.8. There's just nothing that you can compare that to as far as farm potential, and although the Basher is great, the disables are there. That's a pretty beefy Alchemist.
Alchemist has 7k gold. He can easily buy something else and still be fine. Big plays by AL there, and I mean, everybody, we've been talking about the Alchemist a lot, but the play from everybody else was really what carried that. Great Nick stuns, a good TK, an amazing spell steal with the Wall of Replica, and Gyro just dealing the damage, just staying up, while Dignitas fully focused Alchemist. This Gyro, as you mentioned, he's been finding the farm. He has good damage. This is a level 22 Gyrocopter. Even if he had no items, this damage would be fairly respectable. And when you add the Flak Cannon onto that, I mean, the simple fact that it hits everything in range, even if he only has, 200-ish damage, that's 200 damage multiplied by 6 attacks on every single person. Add that to the Mjolnir damage and everything coming out of Alchemist, and it's just a difficult situation for Dignitas. They try to burn Alchemist, but they just don't have the damage to kill him quickly enough to move on to everybody else. And it was really the everybody else that carried that fight for AL.
Yeah. Especially one specific thing was that flat cannon damage up against the Puck here. What Puck loves to do in a team fight is jump in and out, do a couple spells here, be up for maybe 2 seconds, then pop out. Use a blink, use the heals, use phase shift to evade. But what the flat cannon literally accomplished was a form of suppressing fire, where every single time he popped out, damage was streaking right over his head, and it was able to finish off way too off, and without with the fact that he was exhausting so many of his escape mechanics, and from there he just couldn't stay in the fight more than the Dream Coil and Initial Silence, and literally it was just that kind of suppressing fire that limited him extensively in that engagement. Along with that, Rubik going for a very clever pickup here. Miggle grabs a Helm of the Dominator in the intention to steal a Necronomicon creep, and if they can accomplish that effectively, they've just completely turned the fight around with that kind of
smart. What
damage
a really smart
potential.
Pickup, yeah. So if you're Dignitas, I intuitively feel like they have maybe one shot to take this back, but I don't know exactly what they need to do. So if you're Dignitas, what's your game plan here to try to take your one shot and actually win?
Get some good scouting with the Hawk. Try to go for a cool BOT on the Hawk when it's invisible. They won't see your TP coming. Get a good flank initiation on this Alchemist before he can go into his Ogre Rage, his Alchemical Rage. Get a quick burst. Lone Druid gets a lucky bash proc. Suddenly he's down, and from there, Absolute Legends can't accomplish much. I mean, if you exhausted our cooldowns, Gyrocopter's still gonna 1 versus 4 you or whatever, but if you have still a little bit more to bring to him after the fact, if he's a little bit late to the fight, then after Unicorn's down, Rise can only contribute so much, and I think that that's the best bet if they want to try to take it. But again, they're down 4 racks out of their 6, and that's going to be continuously putting pressure here that I don't think that it's going to be easy to get a flank engagement like that, even with Fogged in this kind of cool position here.
I think flank engagement is a good plan. The problem is they're going to have to deal with a mid-push right now. Because AL, I think, very smartly realized that the only way this is turning around is if they get partially ganked and Dignitas pushes. So instead, I don't know if you saw Rise drawing their game plan there, but it was basically just a giant arrow pointing towards the mid-rack. So I think that's what they might go for here. They actually maybe may decide to Roche, because Miggle was pinging the Roche.
If you get a Roche, you're unstoppable. Plain and simple. They make this Roche happen, and the Wall of Replica Steel doesn't come out like last time.
Who's going to hold the Aegis?
Presumably, I don't know. I mean, Alchemist has so big items, and has so much gold to work with, and the buyback as well.
Drop treads? Yeah, I think they're gonna put it on somebody else, maybe.
Yeah,
Gyro? Yeah, he can ditch TP or drums or something.
Yeah, he has way too much to as far as his item set goes. So I think, they might go for a second one. If they can even get the Roche right here, going very, very quickly. The Battlecry comes out. The smoke is ready to try to counter-initiate here. They do pop off a quick Shadow Blade. Dire sees it coming, though. Gets a Hex quick onto Unicorn. But Miracle jumping on in with that Blink Dagger. Nice stuns coming on out. The Wall of Replica does drop down. Long damage coming from Serpent Wards. They get the stun onto Alchemist, but they're not bursting him down. He just has that quick damage. Nice Hex Stick. Nice bash, but they're going to be able to finish it. They actually focus him down hardcore, turn it around, and Gyrocopter has the Satanic to survive, gets bashed instead. You can't lifesteal when you're stunned, and he gets locked down as well. A lot of damage coming out on way 2, but he's able to dodge it out, and now Miracle will drop down as well. This is the fight they really needed, and that Wall of Replica, so perfect, completely cutting them off. I mean, there's this tiny, tiny sliver they can jump on through, but it just wasn't viable, and here they were able to bring it down. Roche also dropped down in that Lone Druid picking up the Aegis. I presume Dignitas got the last hit on it as well, so just tons of great stuff. Universe with Cheese, they have so much going for them right now, even with missing 4 racks, even with going up against a 26-point AK Alchemist.
It's still going to be tough. It's still going to be really, really hard for Dignitas, because they got the kills, they got the Roche, and I mean, honestly, fantastic team fight. Like, managing to coordinate CC around a BKB Alchemist is tough, but they did it. They used Roar at the right time to waste most of his BKB time, and they chained it up with that Shadow Shaman Hex, with the Puck, with everything else that they had. And excellent play, honestly. Get the Alchemist, get the Gyro, win. But they just bought back. So now you need to do it again, now that they don't have buyback, and they're just adding more items on. I mean, Gyrocopter, he's going to hit Daedalus. Actually, I think he's having Daedalus. He's very close to it.
Yeah, very, very close. And he really wanted the Aegis to go with it. I think that would have been a nice matching pair, the Daedalus and the
and
Aegis.
Daedalus on Nature's Prophet, too. So his damage is going to be pretty real soon as well.
Yeah, that's very substantial. I mean, he has good right-click damage in the first place, high intellect values, but yeah, it's just trying to contribute to make multiple threats. He's pretty much trying to play the triple threat where they have, okay, this guy does a huge amount of right-click damage, so does this guy, and so does this guy. So if you can only bash one, if you can only roar one, the focus will be a little bit diverted there, and that'll give them window of opportunity. But like you said, the focus was really, really good on Unicorn, and right now Gyrocopter is not yet doing the damage he needs to. With Daedalus might change that, but right now, with so much durability from the Satanic, but not enough attack damage itself, he's doing quite a bit, but it's just he himself can't do enough of it. That's where the Nature's Prophet comes in, and that's where all of it can be very, very well used to great effect. But I just think Dignitas outpositioned them too hardcore with that wall replica and everything else that followed suit. So that is definitely adding up. And one thing to mention about Alchemist as a carry is that if in a 45-minute game, he's going to get that level of farm. He can have a 10,000 GPM. He only has 6 item slots to work with here. Yeah. So upgrade to Boots of Travels, buy a new BKB, change it to have something for that Shadow Blade, and he's about best in slot.
Absolutely. He's pretty close to max, so if they can't win team fights, this is big.
Oh, who can react first? There is going to be a nice vacuum wall of replica coming on out. There is a call down as well, but let's watch Unicorn just to completely obliterate everything with that stun. Trying to go for Owie. He's not dead yet, but he will be shortly. Too much damage from Rise during that BKB, and it looks like they're just cleaning house. Everybody dropping down. Universe, the final one to go. Lone Druid comes back up, but it's a quick little couple of right clicks should finish suit. And they do have, Bash on the first hit, and there we go. That is a 5 for 0.
Catastrophically bad fight.
And they just straight up call it. Holy crap.
Everything they did well in the last fight, they didn't do well in this fight. And AL came with a much better game plan too, which is beeline the Shadow Shaman. Dignitas didn't have the positional advantage where they could wall off people, thus keeping people off the SS. Because let's talk about that last fight a little bit again. Wall is here, SS is here, and AL is here, so they can't get through to the Shadow Shaman. In this fight, Dignitas is coming from here, and AL is coming from here, and the Shadow Shaman's here. So there's no position that you can wall to actually block off the Rasta. So the Rasta dies, and at that point, they just don't have enough CC. Puck plus Beastmaster isn't enough. Plus, the other problem was Beastmaster was counter-pushing, and he Boots of Traveled over really late. By the time he Boots of Traveled over, 2 people were already dead. And so it was just, there was no hope whatsoever of dealing with this Alchemist.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. But it's just pretty much how it came out. They both reacted, they both clashed such, like, kind of knee-jerk reflexes. The Puck came on in and got a solid Dream Coil, but what's Dream Coil going to accomplish there? It's about getting them and keeping them in a certain position. They were fine with the position they were in. They're like, okay, we're vacuumed together a little bit. We don't have to worry about a black hole or a reverse polarity or even a call-down flag cannon. There's not that big of AoE. So after a good Winding Rift came out, that's pretty much all they had in the sense of area of effect. So Dream Coil keeping them in the spot, and then they're like, okay, that's where we'll fight. And then they just lay in. They get a good unstable concoction off, a good little bit of stun here and there, and they just get this small window of opportunity, about 4 seconds, as all the Alchemist needed to just obliterate Dignitas. Focus down the Lone Druid, the Beastmaster, everybody just fell apart, and that's it. They didn't even get a chance to pop cheese. It wouldn't have mattered anyways, and in the end, it's just really well played to Absolute Legend in this scenario. It is a best-of-3 series, so we'll see how Dignitas will go in this differently. But I have a question for you. Do you feel they just drew it out too long, or was there never really that window of opportunity for them to actually push for the win?
I think they drew it out too long. I think by the time they actually decided to high ground, it was already... I don't think it was too late, but it was close to too late. They had this sort of gimmick pushing composition where the Beastmaster, he rushed Necro 3s. And Necro 3s actually didn't end up, honestly, doing all that much. I really think that if you're primarily farming on Puck early, Puck is never going to carry the late game for you. So you need to make sure that you're leveraging that into very, very early play. I think part of the problem was Owie took too long to catch up, which, I mean, not his fault because he was hard lane, but Dignitas just seemed to not have... Their game plan strategically was clear, but their tactical decisions didn't further that game plan effectively. So I like what they were going for, but it just didn't quite work out for them, and they gave AL a lot of time to do those comebacks. Like I said, AL finds themselves in almost every game having to make comebacks, and if you give them that opportunity, I mean, you're kind of asking for trouble.
Well, yeah, that's going to be it there. There was that time where they pushed in towards the mid, took out the tier 3s in exchange for their Serpent Ward's cooldown, but the Alchemist had just been a little bit too big, and when they got a great concoction off, I feel that was the turning point of the game. When they hit that Beastmaster and the roar didn't come out in that sliver of time frame, Dota is a game of details, and right there, that detail was the Beastmaster couldn't disable the farmed Alchemist, and from there, he was able to just run rampant, and from there, it just was a chain of events that started that off from, I believe, that position, but... Either way, that is going to be it for Game 1. Moving on into Game 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And as far as us, I'm Blaze, and this is Vikramon. Do you want to plug your stream real quick?
Yeah, people can check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vikramon, VYKROMOND. Also YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Even .com. So yeah, check me
True.
out.
Cool, cool. And you guys can just check me out at pretty much all my extensions are /blazecasting, so twitter.com/blazecasting is probably the best way to stay on top of what I'm going to be casting in the near future. But thank you guys, and we'll go on to game 2 now.